The Conquest. The Razak Imperium arrived in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday. By Friday, they had neutralized most of humanity's military capabilities. 1 week later, the governments of Earth signed what was optimistically called a cooperation agreement, but what everyone knew was a surrender document. High Commander Zarak of the Razak Imperium stood on the observation deck of his flagship, the Inevitable Dominion, watching as automated harvesters descended to Earth's surface. The blue-green planet looked serene from orbit, so different from the chaos of the past 2 weeks. Earth had put up more resistance than expected, but in the end, like all species encountering the Imperium for the first time, they had fallen. Resource extraction is proceeding at optimal efficiency, reported Sub-Commander Fela, her scaled skin shimmering in the light of Earth's sun. The humans have been relocated to designated habitation zones as planned. Casualties. Zarak asked, his multifaceted eyes still fixed on the planet below. Minimal. They understood their position quickly enough. Once their major military installations were neutralized, resistance collapsed. Zarak nodded. It was the same story across 100 worlds. The Razak Imperium had perfected the art of swift conquest. Their strategy was elegant in its simplicity. Strike at military and communication centers first, demonstrate overwhelming force, then offer terms of surrender that seemed generous compared to the alternative. Their technology is primitive, Fela continued, but their resources are abundant. Especially noteworthy are their water reserves and biological diversity. And the containment fields. Operating at full capacity. All designated habitation zones are secure. Zarak finally turned away from the viewport. Good. Begin Phase 2. I want extraction rates doubled by the end of the month. What the Razak couldn't know, was that while Earth's formal surrender had been real, the war was far from over. Commander Elena Vega had not seen natural sunlight in 14 days. Since the initial Razak attack, she and what remained of her special operations team had retreated to Sanctuary, a facility buried 2 miles beneath the Appalachian Mountains. The facility had been built decades ago, one of several worldwide, as a last resort in case of global catastrophe. No one had expected that catastrophe to come from the stars. Status report, she demanded, entering the command center where technicians monitored communications and surveillance feeds. Dr. Marcus Chen, former professor of xenobiology and now chief science advisor for sanctuary operations, looked up from his workstation. We've confirmed connection with 14 other sanctuary sites globally. Asia has 7 operational bases, Europe 4, Australia 1, and Africa 2. And the Titan Protocol. Chen sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. It's ready, but Elena, are we sure this is the right approach? The risks. We discussed this, Vega cut him off. The Razak have relocated most of the human population to these habitation zones, glorified concentration camps. Resources are being stripped from the planet at an unsustainable rate. If we don't act, there won't be an Earth worth saving in 6 months. But using the resonance technology on this scale has never been tested. The physiological effects could be, compared to extinction. I'll take those odds. Vega's tone softened slightly. Besides, your team has done remarkable work adapting the technology. The simulations are promising. Chen nodded reluctantly. The final implants are being distributed through our underground network. We've managed to get units into all major habitation zones, if your plan works. When it works, Vega corrected, we'll need to move quickly. The window between activation and Razak response will be narrow. A junior officer approached, handing Vega a tablet. Commander, we've received confirmation. The last resistance cells are in position. Vega studied the screen, a rare smile crossing her face. It's time. Begin Phase 1. Sub-Commander Fela was troubled. Something wasn't right with the humans. 3 months into the occupation, everything had been proceeding according to Imperium protocols. Resource extraction was efficient, human compliance was high, and resistance was minimal and easily suppressed. But in the past week, something had changed. There, humming, she reported to Zurek in his private chambers aboard the inevitable Dominion. Humming. The High Commander's voice conveyed his skepticism. Yes, sir. In the habitation zones. Not all of them, not constantly, but it's spreading. Our psychological assessment teams report it may be a simple coping mechanism, but I'm concerned about singing. Zarek's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among the Razak. About patterns, sir. The humming follows specific frequencies, and it's synchronized across different habitation zones, even ones with no communication between them. This caught Zarek's attention. Show me. Fela activated a holographic display showing audio waveforms. These recordings were taken from habitation zones on different continents. Note the frequency patterns. They match precisely. Zarek studied the display. Some form of primitive resistance communication, perhaps. A coded message. Possibly. But there's more. Fela highlighted a section of the waveform. Our sensors have detected similar vibrations emanating from deep underground, in areas with no habitation zones. The human survivors outside our control, Zarek mused. Their so-called resistance. Yes, sir. But these vibrations aren't just acoustic. They're resonating through the ground itself, almost like. Like what, Sub-Commander? Fela hesitated. Like a heartbeat, sir, or war drums. Zarak dismissed the notion with a wave. Increased surveillance and security protocols. Whatever they're planning, it won't matter. Their military capabilities were thoroughly destroyed. These drums, if that's what they are nothing but the final gasps of a conquered species. But as Fela left the chamber, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial about these humans. In Sanctuary, Dr. Chen monitored the readings with growing excitement. It's working. The resonance network is stabilizing across all regions. Commander Vega leaned over his shoulder, watching as green lights appeared across a global map, and the physiological effects. As predicted, the human participants are showing enhanced neural synchronization. Cognitive function is improving, reaction times decreasing. Most importantly, the Razak don't seem to understand what's happening. They wouldn't, said Major Jackson, Vega's second-in-command. The whole reason we developed the resonance technology was because it works with human biology specifically. To them, it probably just sounds like noise. Vega nodded. The one advantage we discovered. Our brains operate differently than theirs. Their neural structures are highly ordered, logical, sequential. Ours are more chaotic. Chaotic, but adaptive. Chen corrected. The resonance frequencies are enhancing our natural neural plasticity, allowing for faster learning, better coordination, and increased sensory perception. How long until we reach optimal levels? Vega asked. Chen studied the readings. At current progression rates, 72 hours. Then we can begin Phase 2. Vega looked at the map, at the growing network of green lights representing millions of humans, both in captivity and freedom, being subtly prepared for what was to come. 3 days. Then we show the Razak what humans are really capable of. Far above them, in the habitation zones and scattered resistance hideouts, the humming continued, growing stronger, and deep within the Earth. Powerful transmitters sent precise frequencies through the planet's crust and oceans, creating a global network of resonance that the Razak technology couldn't detect but human bodies could feel. The drums were beginning to beat. The uprising. High Commander Zarak was awakened from his sleep cycle by an urgent alert. He found Sub-Commander Fela already in the command center, her usual composure visibly shaken. Report, he demanded. Simultaneous uprisings in all habitation zones, sir, she replied, her voice tight. They began exactly 30 minutes ago, with no warning. Impossible. The containment fields have been compromised. Somehow, the humans are able to pass through them without triggering alarms. Zarak stared at the tactical display showing red alert indicators across Earth's surface. How? The technology required would be centuries beyond their capabilities. It's not technology, sir. At least, not in the conventional sense. Fela brought up surveillance footage from one of the habitation zones. The images showed humans moving with unexpected coordination and speed, overwhelming Razak guards with seemingly simple tools, and in some cases, bare hands. Their physical capabilities appear enhanced. Fela continued. Strength, speed, coordination, all exceeding baseline human metrics from our initial assessment. Zarek's mandibles clicked in agitation. Deploy suppression forces to all affected zones. Use lethal protocols if necessary. Sir, that's not all. We're detecting massive movement from underground installations worldwide. They've been hiding, building forces we never detected. Before Zarek could respond, the ship's sensors chimed with a new alert. The tactical officer called out, "High Commander, we're detecting a powerful signal emanating from multiple points on the planet's surface. The frequency is unusual." "Put it through," Zarek ordered. The sound that filled the command center started as a low rhythmic drumming. Simple, primitive, but as it continued, complex patterns emerged, overlapping, building in intensity. The Razak crew members closest to the speakers began to show signs of discomfort, their sensitive hearing affected by frequencies that seemed to resonate in particularly uncomfortable ways. "Shut it off," Zarek commanded, noticing his crew's distress. After the sound was cut, he turned to Fela. "What was that?" "It appears to be some form of coordinated acoustic attack," she replied. "The frequencies are precisely calibrated to affect our auditory systems. A weapon? Possibly, but there's more to it. The same frequencies seem to have a different effect on humans. They appear to be using it as some kind of synchronization mechanism." Zarek's expression darkened. "Synchronization for what?" The answer came as another alert sounded. "Sir, we're detecting attacks on all major resource extraction sites, and 3 of our orbital platforms have gone offline." Commander Elena Vega stood at the entrance to what had once been Habitation Zone 17, now liberated by her forces. The Titan protocol had exceeded even their most optimistic projections. Across the globe, humans were fighting back with newfound abilities that the Razak hadn't anticipated. "The resonance network is at full capacity," reported Dr. Chen through her comm unit. "Neural synchronization is holding steady at 87% across all connected individuals." "And our casualties?" Vega asked, watching as former captives and resistance fighters worked together to secure the area. "Minimal." The Razak were completely unprepared for the speed of our response. "Their weapons are effective, but they can't target what they can't predict." And that was the key to the whole strategy. The resonance technology didn't give humans new physical abilities so much as it enhanced what was already there, particularly the chaotic, adaptive nature of human cognition that made them fundamentally different from the highly structured Razak minds. "Commander," Major Jackson approached, accompanied by a civilian woman whose determined expression suggested she'd been a leader within the habitation zone. "This is Dr. Sarah Kita." She was coordinating resistance efforts from inside. Dr. Kita nodded sharply. "Your resonance technology was the key. Once we received the implants, we could coordinate without the Razak detecting our communications. But there's something you should know. They're preparing a major counterattack. Their ships are positioning for orbital strikes." Vega smiled grimly. "Right on schedule. Begin Phase 3. On the inevitable Dominion, chaos reigned. Reports of human advances came in faster than the command staff could process them. Resource extraction facilities were being systematically destroyed. Razak ground forces found themselves outmaneuvered by humans who seemed to anticipate their every move. "This is impossible," Zarek muttered, watching as another section of the tactical map turned red, indicating lost Razak control. They were primitive, disorganized. How are they doing this? "The resonance frequencies," Fela suggested. "They must be using them to enhance neural communication somehow, a biological advantage we didn't account for." Then we eliminate the source, Zarak decided. Target the largest underground installations we've identified. Full orbital strike capability. Sir, the tactical officer interrupted. Our weapons systems are not responding. Something is interfering with the targeting systems. Override. We're trying, sir, but... The officer was cut off as the ship's lighting flickered and alarms blared. Sir, we're detecting multiple breaches in the ship's hull. Security systems report. Humans aboard. Here. How did they reach orbit? Zarak demanded. The answer came as the main view screen activated, showing the human face. Commander Elena Vega. Hi, Commander Zarak, she said, her voice calm but resonating with authority. Your invasion of Earth is over. Your ships are compromised. Your ground forces defeated. We offer you one chance to withdraw peacefully. Zarak's rage was palpable. You dare? You are primitives. How did you even transmit this signal to my ship? Vega smiled slightly. That's the question you should have been asking from the beginning. How do humans communicate? Not just with technology, but with each other. The answer was right in front of you. We resonated. On the screen behind her, Zarak could see humans working in perfect coordination, some operating what appeared to be Razak technology with impossible familiarity. The drums, Phala whispered in realization. The vibrations through the ground. The humming. They were creating a planet-wide neural network. We discovered the resonance technology decades ago, Vega explained, but we kept it limited, controlled because of the unpredictable effects. When you invaded, we had no choice but to deploy it fully. The frequencies that enhance human neural plasticity happen to disrupt your neural structures, an evolutionary difference we didn't understand until we studied your biology. Another alarm sounded, and the tactical officer's voice was strained as he reported, Sir, all ships in the fleet are reporting human boarding parties. They're taking control of our vessels. Zarak stared at the human commander on the screen, comprehension and fury warring in his expression. This isn't over, he hissed. Yes, it is, Vega replied. You have 1 hour to order all Razak forces to withdraw. After that, we take your ships and send your personnel home ourselves, without your technology. The transmission cut off, leaving the Razak command center in stunned silence. 3 days later, Commander Vega stood with Dr. Chen on a hillside overlooking what had been Habitation Zone 17, now being dismantled as people returned to their homes. In the distance, the last of the Razak ships was visible as a bright point of light, ascending into the morning sky. They'll be back, you know, Chen said quietly. Maybe not the Razak specifically, but others. We've announced our presence to the galaxy now. Vega nodded. We'll be ready. The resonance network is being maintained at a baseline level, enough to give us an edge without the side effects of full activation. The Neural Harmony Project, Chen mused. What began as a medical technology for enhancing cognitive function in patients with neurological disorders ended up saving our species. Humans adapting, using what makes us different as a strength, Vega replied. It's what we do best. In the valley below, people were gathering, some with drums and simple instruments. The celebration was beginning, not just here, but around the world. Earth had faced its first extraterrestrial threat and survived, not through technological superiority, but through the unique qualities of human consciousness itself. The drums began to beat again, not as weapons now, but in celebration. Each beat resonated through the air, through the ground, through the people themselves, a reminder of the connection they had forged in their darkest hour. The enemy had thought they won, until they heard the war drums. And now, the galaxy would hear them too.